the December 10th, 2019 meeting of the Board of Education. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mitchell, Trustee Patterson,
Present.
Trustee Williams, Trustee McOwen,
Present.
Trustee Ning, Trustee Saunders,
Present.
Trustee White,
Present.
Trustee Miller,
Present.
Trustee Torres.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers this evening?
There are no communications from the public this evening.
Okay. Dr. Hamilton, do you have a presentation this evening?
I do. Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
We have a couple of things I'd like to share with you, the superintendent's report, and then we have two very brief presentations for you. Firstly, we received information this week that our application for the IB designation at Mount Vernon High School is going along very, very well. And I call your attention to this because this is a very arduous process. But by all indications, we have every reason to believe that the association will grant us authorization this spring. So please keep that on your radar. Last night was probably one of the most amazing experiences in my career in Mount Vernon. We had the 3 high schools present last night to 8th graders who obviously will be our freshman class last year. And kudos to the parent liaisons for their role in this, and of course, curriculum and instruction for pulling it together. But the place was packed. We really could not accommodate any more people in the cafeteria. It was packed. And it wasn't just about people being there. It was the commentary, the enthusiasm, the excitement, people there from charter schools, folks who had currently have students that are in parochial school. I met 2 parents who had kids in parochial school, 2 parents who were coming out of charter high schools to come back based on things that they've been hearing about our district. And I have to tell you, the presentations were so well done that I don't know how kids could honestly make a choice other than having personal interests. I don't know how they could make a choice with all the options that they had available to them. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience and just great to see. So kudos again to those that made that happen last night for our district. Tomorrow I will have the first of several meetings in Albany regarding our budget and our request for additional funding and revisiting the formula as it relates to the foundation aid that is determines how much state aid we get from New York State. It is an all-day event. Our sessions start at 11 and we run all day long. We are meeting with 3 or 4 different groups of people. Ultimately, the last meeting is with the Budget and Finance Committee. So hopefully we'll get some traction. I will certainly update you when that in my report this week and let you know how that turns out. So those are the bulleted items from my report, but I'd like to move now to a brief synopsis of our 2020 vision, our goals, and segue into 2020 and beyond. We've been working very carefully to make sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed as it relates to the execution and accomplishing the goals that the board set out, I guess, about 4 years ago now. And as we approach 2020, we are right on target to accomplish everything that we said we would accomplish on the 2020 vision. Kudos to the members of the cabinet for their work, and certainly our principals, our teachers, Board of Trustees, everybody who's been a part of this, and ultimately our students. But it is, we're very pleased to report that we are on target for closing out 2020 and moving forward with 2020 and beyond. So with that said, Dr. Gorman and I'm going to ask Dr. Gorman to start us off on the 2020 presentation. And at some point, obviously not tonight, but at some point I will be asking the board to take final action. We will certainly provide the data that you need in order to solidify the post-2020 goals, and then to take formal action to adopt those goals. Dr. Gorman.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Evening.
Right. So to echo Dr. Hamilton from last night, we did a lot of prep for that high school choice night last night, and one of the extra steps that we, is there a way I could, there you go. Yep. One of the extra steps that we did this year is to increase communication and articulation with our K-8 schools. So we actually did a dry run with the 3 principals about 2 weeks ago, and we had all of the 8th grade principals and their guidance counselors come, and they asked questions about information. They're like, I didn't know about this, and it was really informative. But as I sat there and I watched and I listened to the 3 principals give a quick overview, we didn't have the tapes of the videos presented there, I had realized how powerful our work was in a mere 4 or 5 years, and to listen to these descriptions of these high schools and the work that we've done. I said it last night, and I said it at that time also. I would put it up nationwide against any school district in theory on what we're offering our kids if they take benefit of it, if they take it to their advantage. Now the goal is to get all kids vested in that process, but it was really, truly impressive. So that's the precursor to our presentation today, which ties in the work that we've been doing over the last 5 years and the work that is to come, and the Board of Education setting their future goals. So I'm going to give you a quick recap of the current board goals and the superintendent's action plan as we know it, and then it'll set you up for a discussion on what happens beyond the 2020. All right, so with all impressive reform movements comes a vision statement, and that vision statement should be talked about regularly. And so the Mount Vernon City School District will be recognized as a high-quality educational system where all students receive a rigorous education which prepares them to be model citizens equipped with the necessary skills to compete in a global society. And we do review this vision statement often, and there are key indicators there like rigorous education, like global society, and that helps prep us on what programs, activities, partnerships are appropriate to hit that vision. It could be a different vision, but this is the vision that the district has set forth, which I think is a great vision for kids of the future in Mount Vernon. So a quick review of our completed board goals. I'll take you through some of the highlights of how we got here and what comes next. And obviously our work is never done, and it needs to continue to be implemented to fidelity and refined and reflected upon. And that's a process that all good school districts go through in order to never be satisfied and to keep on pushing themselves to get better. So the first goal talked about the successful implementation of the 2020 vision, which includes district reconfiguration to pre-K-8 schools, the creation of 3 theme-based high schools, and used to promote achievement through innovative school reform initiatives. And so that's a big goal there. It's a lofty goal, and we are just about there. And we're finishing up, obviously, in September with the Mandela Elementary School onboarding. But we will achieve something that for many years in Mount Vernon could not and did not happen. How did we get there? We helped preparing our future by implementing full-day pre-K, getting kids kindergarten ready through a rigorous pre-kindergarten program. So they are not playing, they are playing with a purpose in pre-K. And if you've ever seen Gail's classes and Dr. White's kids, they are busy beavers, and they are learning. And I often feel that type of learning should continue all the way through high school and not fall into traps of traditional learning where we move to desks, but it should go through inquiry and productive play. We registered 8 schools for grade reconfiguration in our pre-K-8 models. That is unique to our community and based off of the community school process of articulation and continuity of instruction from a student entering kindergarten and going all the way up to 8th grade. I think that's an important process for continuity of instruction. We ensured articulation we've refined our curriculum in all of our subject areas, and we continue to do that. And we're moving towards next-gen standards from the core curriculum content standards. That's an evolving process that continues to go on in our work. We created the 3 high schools, which again, if you weren't there last night, it was chill-worthy. And what was really neat is that the teachers were the teachers and the students, we had avid ambassadors there, and the teachers, you could feel their passion coming out. There was such pride in the work that they were doing, and that really glared out to the parents last night. And we are looking at our subgroups, and specifically special education with our specially designed instruction, and we've provided a lot of training for that as well. We've significantly improved our digital learning and tools for our students. We implemented a learning management system, which we did not have in place as close as 2 years ago. We went to a one-to-one initiative seamlessly without even talking about it. All kids in one of our schools are using laptop devices for their learning. We've really embraced a lot of digital tools, even though everybody isn't using them yet. The resources are here for our kids to really take off and get to a world that they are going to have to be productive citizens in. We improved our Office of School Improvement. Parent liaisons, grants are coming in at a really strong pace now. Families and parents are taking advantage of opportunities, math nights, summer school, STEM programs. Last night, well over 100 parents and families out there. Last year, we had about 5. So, I mean, when we hit a tipping point, it's sometimes, once you hit that point, it starts to move at a rapid pace. And I think last night was definitely a tipping point for us from transitioning from middle school or the K-8 school to the high schools. And our college and career readiness efforts have really increased. We talk regularly about 4-year college applications, regardless of whether a kid goes to a 2-year or a 4-year. When we got here, there was a lot of pride in getting to a 2-year college. We were barely talking about 4-year college readiness. And so college and career readiness, or career and college readiness, either way you say it, is an important tenet, and it requires kids to be able to speak, to articulate, to write, to communicate, and to collaborate and to critically think. And so those steps are in process and in motion and continue to go with these goals. So just because, Dr. Hamilton, these goals are technically finishing in 2020, all this work, I would assume, will continue to happen?
Absolutely.
All right. So, so as the second goal that the board adopted was an assessment of their existing systems, and I think we could do a little bit better than that in our continuous assessment. But we have started to use data in a much different way than when we started getting here. We are looking at state scores. We are looking deeper than state scores. We are looking at individualized reports for children and identifying areas of improvement. That is a big shift of just looking and saying, oh, we hit a number, a percentage, we'll do better. Now we're drilling down into what are the strengths and areas of growth for specific students. When you do that, then you could give the prescribed recipe or the managing for results. What treatment do you give if a kid is suffering from not understanding or not comprehending or not writing? Then you have to do something in order to improve that. That's a big shift. It's called formative assessment of instruction versus for instruction. And many districts, and we're still guilty of it, we always assess of what's going on instead of for what's going to happen. And that's a big shift in thinking. Now that I know it, what do I do because I know it?
And moving forward with this particular goal, one of the things that we've been working on is to trying to create great alignment with various initiatives that were going on in the district. Specifically, we have these dynamic systems that are in place related to how we use data and programs, but there's been a disconnect from elementary to at that time, middle, and then middle to high school. We've been using the district diagnostic tool for school and district effectiveness, which is a tool created by the state, aligning that with our MFR process, looking at the iReady data, and using all of these instruments to help format a structured strategic plan for turning the district around as it relates to programs and services, and then identifying where our students fall in their continuum of academic success to ensure that we have the appropriate interventions, remediation, and enrichment opportunities for students regardless to where they fall on that continuum.
We also believe that professional learning is a vehicle to improve practices. I was not personally happy that tomorrow we changed the schedule because of weather, because I know the work that we did with the principals. We brought the principals and the professional development school teams together. They were formatting their own half day tomorrow where they were showcasing their learning from the first two superintendent's conference days. They were doing something called an unconference where they were sharing ideas and presenting to each other at our schools. And I was really excited to see how it was going to roll out tomorrow. We will postpone it and move to another date to do that, but there was buy-in, and that professional learning to change practice and the reflection and say, okay, how does this change what I'm doing in the classroom is very important. I was talking to a principal today that was providing feedback to teachers on lesson plans, and she said that the teacher came back and said, you know, it worked, and it was that simple, that one-to-one conversation about looking at what we're doing and saying, okay, is it working, or what can we do a little bit better? While everything was going on, we just happened to touch our buildings and facilities. And I think you could speak on the incredible renovations and the pride that this district now has. I remember our first walkthroughs with the boilers in the basements, and you know, it's cringeworthy, and yet when you see it in writing, about the STEAM Academy construction, and I was talking to the principal yesterday, and we were talking about how beautiful the hallways and how clean the hallways are, and how in a learning environment geared towards the type of work they're doing, kids will be in the hallways, and the media center in the STEAM Academy is state of the art. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's a great place for collaboration and learning. The renovation of the science classrooms, and please, Dr. Hamilton, speak on the Thornton renovations and the performing arts in the auditoriums, because I know that's your wheelhouse.
That has been such a calling card for the district. So one of the things that we talked about when we came up with this vision was not just about renovating the buildings because they needed it, but making the renovations match the instructional programs that were going on. So the way each of the buildings have been customized have been uniquely designed to ensure that while what's happening in terms of curriculum had the kinds of facilities that made certain that our students were getting an experiential learning. The renovations at Thornton in particular have made that school such a desirable place for students to have a full fine and performing and visual art experience that it could not be any better in terms of making that match make sense. The same is true for Mount Vernon High School and the work that's been done to provide a comprehensive CTE experience, and clearly the STEAM Academy is such that the graphic design places there, the science labs, is ideal for the learning that is taking place in that building. So the customization of the 3 theme-based high schools and the amount of resources allocated to rectify those facilities in order to accommodate the curriculum has just been stellar. And not to mention the fields that have also been a part of our efforts to improve the district and make this match to the programs that we're offering our students.
You know what I think, Dr. Hamilton? We, as you know, we have a showcase, a dry run showcase at Columbus on Thursday, if I have it, and Mike and I did a walkthrough with the principal, and what I feel is a sense of pride, strong pride. And so when we walked through with the principal, and by the way, the custodian there is incredible. He bought his own fish tank, and the kids feed the fish there with the custodian. It's just a specially warm place, but the pride that they were taking in preparing the building, and touch-up paint and cleanliness and the attention to details was very powerful. So as we get better and we continue to showcase our work here, there's a lot of internal pride that people are very aware of, that they want the facilities to match the learning. I come from a different place. I'm like, the learning occurs, it doesn't matter what the place looks like, but I've noticed that differently here, that those needs of being proud of your facilities and your surroundings is a very important piece to the learning environment and the culture that we've created in the district. And lastly, we are continuously trying to improve our communication efforts. We will showcase our new app today for you in a little while, but we have done a pretty significant job in increasing communication. And communication goes both ways. If you're not listening, then we're not communicating, so it's an ongoing effort. Communication is more than me just sending something out or making a call. If you're not paying attention, it's not effective communication, so we're always looking at means. But I do know that our Facebook Live budget rounds, that's a pretty innovative process that I do not think many districts utilize, and we're reaching a different audience. So we're evolving and innovating in school districts, and we're not just doing same old, and I think that makes us very unique, and that's why we're being recognized in a lot of different areas. And so that brings us to some good news. So Dr. Hamilton, do you want to talk about, well, I could share this
No,
news.
go ahead, I'm with you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The high school, was our one TSI school last year, and Dr. Connery gave me this information today. If you could look in the fourth column, it says the subgroups that were giving us problems, and that was the ELL population, the Hispanic population, and the special ed population. And you see those 3 yeses, it means that the state has recently told us that we are making progress in all of those indicators, and we are not regressing in the high school, we are moving forward. And I thought that was very powerful information to share today.
So next, based on this trajectory and the current path that we are on, based on what I know and understand to be true today, Mount Vernon High School will also be in good standing next year. And then we will have 100% of our schools as schools in good standing, and therefore district designation will be one in good standing.
Thank you, Dr. BC and the Office of School Improvement for being stewards of that work. It's very important work, and I know our work has been very connected, and the more we're all connected, the better and more powerful we are as an organization. Moving on, so this is the future, and so I know, Dr. Hamilton, you had a board retreat recently with your Board of Education, and you guys sort of scripted out some rough drafts of where we want to go past
Right.
it.
So these are broad stroke goals that capture, a summary of some of the things that we've defined to be our focus for 2020 and beyond. And that's looking specifically at student achievement. That obviously as a district ought to be a goal. But we're looking at increasing proficiency at all grade levels. But our long-term objective is to make sure every student is literate by the time they're in 3rd grade. And this initiative that focuses on early childhood education is one of the best ways to ensure that we accomplish that. So that is one of our post-2020 goals. Additionally, we are looking at making certain that the district's initiatives are designed to address the whole child by creating individualized attention with individualized attention for our students through a system that's designed to promote district-wide success. So just like students with learning disabilities have an individualized plan, our goal will be to work toward making sure all of our students have a plan. And we've actually already started that with the MFR process by way of looking at strategies that are customized for students based on where they are today using the iReady data. And we want to continue to address the social and emotional well-being of our students. That has become a national issue. I don't know what's going on in the world today, but clearly we have to make sure that we are devoting appropriate time and attention through our resources to address the social and emotional wellness of our students and our staff so that they have the benefit of having a holistic learning experience when they are in our district. And then, of course, moving forward to a multi-year fiscal plan for how we will address our needs. And we're going to be talking more about that as we get closer to our budget cycle. We've been working very diligently on that. There's a lot of things going on simultaneously, some big things going on relative to our effort to advocate for more state aid, working on our budget, onboarding Mandela, and developing a multi-year plan for fiscal equity, fiscal excellence. So while all these things are going on, we still have the regular day-to-day operations that happen with operating a school. So I'm sharing that with you because each day we identify opportunities to look differently at how we create our fiscal plan and marry programs and services and align them with our resources. And of course, doing so also means looking at how to control that expense. And we're sometimes in a quandary because we want to increase opportunities for our students, but we have to do so in such a way that it's in concert with our responsibility to control some of our expenses. And then finally, looking at what the long-term what the future will look like on a long-term basis for Mount Vernon, and creating these systems that will be sustainable when board changes, superintendents change, cabinet members change, having systems that are so deeply embedded in the culture of our district and the culture of our community that the synergy that we've created, those things that are working, and we know now the data tells us it's working well, those things will continue. So we'd be glad to answer any questions related to this. I will anticipate there will be a part 2 to this once the board gets more information and we can fine tune those post-2020 goals, and then perhaps in January or certainly by early February to have board take formal action to adopt those new goals.
I have two questions. Okay. I have two questions, Dr. Gorman. Well, both of you, but one is in one of the first slides of goals, the objective of having 70% of pre-K students ready to enter kindergarten, and you said something like 87% this year. What does that mean? Does that mean 87%? In our estimation, 87% of our students who've gone through our pre-K program are ready to go to kindergarten?
Yes. So
Fantastic.
according to our academic diagnostic data through the Circle assessment, 87% of the students who were enrolled in full-day pre-K were ready for kindergarten.
That's fantastic. Great. Good job. That's great.
And that is a very good indicator of our students being, by the time they're in third grade, being ready, being on grade level. Now, we do have a large transient population, as you know, so many of these students won't be with us by the time they get to third grade. But we do know that as long as those programs that we've been utilizing have worked for those youngsters, they'll work for others as well.
And my next question is, I believe we have enough data now to be able to, we're talking about how many students are applying to college, are going to college. How we need to be evaluating their success rate. And I know we thought we could use Naviance to evaluate their success rate, because I know with our population there's an issue of students go to school and then they either, for financial reasons or whatever, they don't continue. Are we going to look at that data?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about it, and I think it's something that we have to find the tools and follow up and stay consistent on that from a year-to-year basis and show you the growth, because I think it's significant. It's easier said than done because it's outreach to the universities and the people, and we have to capture that audience, but I think it requires a concerted effort, and I believe Dr. Smith's department is the right in guidance and pupil personnel to look at that.
Just be interesting.
Option. I think it's very important.
And I've
for the
also
success.
reached out to to college boards, and they are looking to partner with Naviance as well,
Great.
so that they can share data amongst each other, so that that information is readily available to us, those of us who are not in the post-secondary business.
That's great. That's great.
I have a question for you, Dr. Hamilton.
Sir.
So five of us were here 5 years ago, and you on the trustees, and I'm just curious. Maybe this is almost a personal question, but when we started this process 5 years ago, I'm curious as to, looking back on the last 5 years, what aspects of implementing this vision do you think ended up easier than they thought you would be, or that ended up much harder than you thought they would be?
That's a great question.
Just looking back.
I think what's been hard, the hardest part of it, I think, has really been moving forward, knowing that there were so many folks who were so used to being disappointed that the trust wasn't there, and trying to navigate relationships and build synergy when there were folks who were not sure that it was attainable. And the trust wasn't there. And then gradually that population got smaller and smaller. So I did not anticipate that struggle would be as ominous as it was. And What I think was a little easier than I anticipated was probably really around pre-K. I thought that was going to be a bigger challenge to get families really understanding the value of early childhood education, because there were so many competing entities and agencies trying to accomplish the same thing and not, in my view, having the same access to resources that this organization did. That was not as big of a hurdle as I thought it was going to be.
I mean, now we're oversubscribed.
Right?
Right.
Exactly. No, thank you. I appreciate that question, though.
Do any trustees have any other questions or comments, anything they'd like to share on Dr. Hamilton's presentations or report?
Right on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
Great.
Name.
And then we will now transition right into the update. Last time we did our app, we had some glitches, and we have now updated the app. It is ready to roll out, and it is quite interactive and very impressive. I'm going to encourage you all to download it tonight as soon as you get a chance.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Maybe all right. So a couple of years ago, we rolled out a district app, and it wasn't widely accepted. It just didn't have what we needed. We talked recently about how we can use technology to really engage with our community. We want our community to know what's going on. We want them to be part of the process, and technology can really help us with that. There are some obstacles that some community members may have. For example, we may not have the correct phone numbers for them. They may have switched numbers. That's always a challenge. Another challenge that we seem to have is language. So not everybody is a native English speaker. So we can use technology to help navigate some of that stuff. And so tonight I'm very proud to bring you the new and improved Mount Vernon app. It is available on the Google Play Store. It is available on the App Store. You can search for it using Mount Vernon Schools. That's MT Vernon Schools, or spell the whole thing out. If you're on the App Store, you can just write MVCSD. It's a little less cumbersome, but you can find it lots of ways. Once you download the app, you're going to get prompted, and you go to open it, it's going to ask you if you want to get those push notifications. Say yes. And the reason you want to say yes is when there's and I know there's some youngsters out there hoping that's going to happen, that we're going to get a snow day tomorrow. Right? But when that event happens, I'm not one of them, by the way, when that event happens, you're going to want to get that through the app. You're going to want to get that notification. If there's any sort of emergency, you're going to want that app to pop up and say, hey, I want to let you know this thing. So please, when it asks you, can I do push notifications, say yes. Okay, so without further ado, and this also, by the way, comes in English, but we're not going to start in English. We're going to start in Arabic. Didn't see that coming, did you? And the reason we're going to start in Arabic is because I want to underscore the point that if you're not native to the language, being involved can be really tricky. Like if you look at this app, and unless somebody here is a native Arabic speaker, nobody? Okay, so good. So then this is
Tell
hard.
us anything, right?
Doesn't tell you anything, right? You go, okay, got a great bunch of icons, but I don't know anything. So how can I possibly follow what's going on? So I'm not going to do the whole demonstration in Arabic, but I'll start there just for kind of giggles. So the calendar, all right, look at this, in the native language, and I'm going to click on an event, and there it is, all the information about that event in my native language. Now I can add to my events, and now I can actually just search to see what's relevant to me. I can also add to my calendar. So on my phone, I can say, oh, this is really an important event. I have no idea what this event is, by the way. This is a really important event, and I can go ahead and add it to my personal calendar. So now I have it with me. I don't have to go back to the district calendar.
That was tonight's meeting.
Yeah, it's a nice feature. And there's going to be some things here where you're going to say, oh my gosh, I got to remember this thing is happening. I don't know what I added. Right? So the next question is, well, what's relevant to me? So there's a couple of ways that you can subscribe to various calendars. So you notice a little sprocket up here, and there's a few ways to do this. I can choose to subscribe to the various calendars of the various schools. So I probably don't have children in all of the schools, so I may not be interested in all the schools, but I can click on the ones that I want and subscribe, so I'm just getting events from those calendars. And we're working with the schools to help populate this, so this becomes a regular thing now that parents can really get the information that they want. They can know what's going on in their schools in their home language. Now, also, the district website. Let's talk about the district website for a second. Great stuff happening. We talked about this amazing event that was last night. If you didn't speak English and you wanted to know more about it, boom, there you go. Right at your fingertips. So once you set your home language, you're always going to get the information that you need in your native language. Really nice. Again, our goals here are to help engage with the community and engage with the parents. And by meeting them where they are, this is how we're doing it. You can also do notifications. So again, we talked about that snow day. That's not going to happen. Or maybe it will. Right? And so here are the text messages that come. The problem with the text messages is it always comes in English. Here, we can get the actual message in that native language. And we can also play it.
Grade parents.
So we can get the voice.
This is Rick McCormick going to tell you about our interactive high school
You got to get a new voice in Mount Vernon.
Monday,
Little plug out to Rick.
at the
Right.
Mount Vernon High
Daffy
School.
Duck, maybe.
So, again, so you get all those announcements, whether we have your phone number or not, and whether or not you speak English or not, you get it all. Right? So it's really nice. I'm going to switch languages now, if that's okay with everyone. And I want to start by showing you, let me back up for a second. So that little sprocket in the corner, a lot of settings you can change there. I can change, for example, which schools to follow. And I'm going to change the language here. And just look at all the languages this comes in. This is a nice, long list. So as you can see, there's lots of options to meet people where they are.
Okay, so I can just go on.
I'm going to scroll quickly back down to English.
Figure it out.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So now, I'll show you some of the other features of the app. So we talked about the notifications. We talked about the calendar. We talked about ways of getting your news. The parent login, that's the home access center. So if you have an eSchool login and you're a parent, you want to be able to get to your child's grades, you can log in straight from here. And we are working with the parents on updating their information currently to help them through this process. All right, menus. This is a great one. There's actually a separate app for this, but you can go ahead and put in and it's going to suggest, see it just says download this app. I'm going to not do that for a second. We're just going to type in one of the schools. And there it is, it popped up, and I'm going to subscribe to that school. And now here's my menu. So if I want to see what's for lunch, I can see what's for lunch. All right, so it's all right there. So concerned parents want to know what we're feeding, what their kids are eating. Here we go, all right there. So that's menus. The School Finder is a great feature where you can actually look your address up and see what your zone school is. This is especially relevant when we're talking about a rezoning initiative. So I can say, okay, if they rezone, okay, so this is a great way to look up what's my zone. You put in your address, you find map, it'll tell you where your zone school is. Really nice. Our Facebook is the district's Facebook app, so you're like, hey, let's find out what's going on through Facebook. And here's all the information that we post on Facebook, and there's a lot there. District's Twitter account, so if you want to see what's going on and follow us on Twitter, go ahead and just click it right there, and there's all our information from our Twitter feed. Again, we're trying to put it all in one place, so parents have one-stop shopping. Here's all the information you could possibly want. We know that almost everybody has a smartphone. Let's build it in a place where they can get to it. All right, our board docs, obviously, for that. A tip line, if somebody wants to let us know if there's an out-of-district student, you can use a tip line to do that. Our YouTube channel, this is all Mount Vernon YouTube stuff, so let's get some videos up here. Let's see what's going on. I want to know what's going on in my schools. Now I can find out and I can see the videos. All right? This sports is great. We can actually now register for intramural sports through here.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So this is a nice addition. Registration is closed, otherwise I'd show you. But you can actually register for the sports. All right. So as you can see, there's a lot here. This is really second to none. This is everything at the parents' fingertips. So, and in their native language.
All right. Good job.
Thank you, guys.
It's fantastic.
What other districts are going in this direction? Do we have any model districts that have used the app and have gotten?
Other districts are using the app. You have some customization, so we spent some time doing some customization to try and bring it out.
Yeah.
This is the Blackboard is the overriding company that does it, so it's it's out there. But it's the time to spend to make sure that we have all the links. Actually, I skipped a huge piece of it. There's also another huge section we're talking about resources. Sorry, let me show you some of the resources. So one of the resources, this is another differentiator, we've actually put in some community parent and staff links. So for example, parents want to know about the pool, or the community wants to know about the pool. Here's some information when we're open about the pool. We have some links for parents in terms of their Schoology login, they want to take the survey, they want to know what's going on with our improvement efforts. Again, all right here. So this kind of customization, we don't see anywhere else.
Right.
We really are standing out.
How much room is there to grow, to add on?
As things come up, we can add, absolutely.
So, I mean, as far as like security measures, because most apps and phones have the GPS, is it something that we may be looking to have a requirement for our kind of employees, or maybe even, I don't know, I'm just kind of.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with the different apps. We haven't really gone down the GPS road, quite frankly. I mean, there's like location-based stuff we haven't.
Seems like we can do a lot.
Yeah. You can, bless you. You can, we haven't gone down that road with this. This is just purely informational, just trying to get them wherever they are.
Right.
But yeah, you can. We just haven't, we haven't turned any of that. We haven't turned any location tracking. There's nothing with this app. This is,
Yeah.
you know, we also want to be very respectful of the privacy of the people that are using
Oh,
our app.
absolutely.
So we're really clear not to do that.
I think we need to, I'm looking at the voice of Mount Vernon now. Rick, I think we need to do, posters in each school with a picture of the app, and just really, we should do everything we can to raise awareness of this in the building, so when parents are going into the building, dropping their kids off, we should have really nice posters all over the district, which tell people that they can, even downtown, even in public spaces, so people understand there is an app, you can get information, and I think it could really help with adoption. I think it could make it really attractive, and then just a few bullet points, like whatever language you want, whatever school you want, so people realize they're not going to be over inundated, but that they're going to get specifically what they need right at the touch at their phone.
I think that's a great idea.
It deserves it. It's fantastic. Great job.
How is it being promoted now?
Well, we're going to start at the board meeting tonight. This is the reveal.
Oh, okay.
This is the reveal. So this is it. So we haven't really started, quite frankly, our promotion yet. We wanted to start with the board. We wanted to start at this meeting to kind of showcase this and let you guys know. I know you guys had a lot of concerns around making sure that we were able to engage with the community through technology, and so we wanted to bring it to you first, and then we'll talk about how we're going to publicize it after.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Is
for
the
your
intent of this to replace eventually, Remind, robocalls, like all the other things that we do?
Perfect world.
So that in a perfect world, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't have 4 different text threads for each of my kids, right?
Right.
In each of their different schools and classrooms.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that yet. I mean, I prefer this over, because again, you can get
Yeah.
that text in your native language as opposed to, so I actually prefer this over
I'm
text.
just saying, as a matter of rolling it out, instead of giving principals and teachers the option of setting up their own independent communication methods, which it seems they do, we can just say, don't do that. Just make all your parents get the app and communicate through the app, because it's already built in.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that as a marketing strategy.
And have some data snapshot also, where when you want to access some of the data of the district, performance data, I think that would be a good, faster way to do that, perhaps.
Right, and I also know they have analytics available, I assume, for most apps, so you can get data for, like, when are people logging into this, how many people are logging into this, which parts of the city are people logging into this app from. So you can get so much data.
I know there's some. I haven't really delved into that road, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I
I
know
think
there's
also do
some.
contests with the
Yeah.
schools to see how engaged, how many people with each school are utilizing the app.
So it's,
It looks fantastic.
Great.
You're on the
That's
move.
so great.
Absolutely.
thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And that concludes, let me just make sure I'm being honest, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. For the next part of our agenda, we're going to move on to board member reports. And given that our next meeting will not be for a couple of weeks, what I think I'd like to do is have board members, I'll go around the table and ask board members, and you can either report on some activity that you've participated in the district, if you have, or there's something you want to share, or give your respective committee report. So, because we're not going to be meeting for a couple of weeks, and it's going to be a significant amount of time between meetings. So, I'd like to just get some information out in the public. So, why don't I start with Trustee Saunders? Would you like to begin?
Sure, why not? So I had a special education advisory meeting, I believe it was the 18th of November. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And it was very well attended, I must say, very well. Ms. Gayon and Mr. Paul had a computer there, and they got parents' input on some ideas, what we needed to do, what they're happy about, what they're not happy about. I didn't get the gist of the data that the parents put in, but just by speaking to some of the parents, they feel, special education parents feel that they want to be involved in some of the after-school programs. They want to, have the sports and the academics, and they want all of that, and they feel when they go to regular PTA meetings that they're not speaking to them. I said, well, that's why we have Special Education Advisory Council. So we adopted a person to be the president of the SEAC because we hadn't had one for a while. And I think that we have a good group of people that we're going to do some good things with. So I think we're going to bond with that. That's pretty much all I have right now. Also, I think at our last meeting, Trustee McGowan said that we were going to separate something with special ed as far as the goals. And speaking with Felicia and Rachel, they think that we should have that all included as with the students. So we should include that with the special education with all students, I guess the percentage of graduation and whatever data that was. I don't remember what it was, but.
Yeah, I mean, the question that came up at the last roundtable was in formulating the wording of our goals, what is the best way, the most productive way to focus on the special education population in terms of specific measurable goals? Because we had talked about things like, percentage at reading level, percentage graduation, increases in percentage per year of certain things. And the question is, do we do a whole population metric, or do we do different population metrics, and what's the best way? Because again, the whole point of this is we're trying to hold ourselves accountable.
I understand.
So that when we look back 3-5 years from now,
But
we
I
have a
think
good sense.
speaking with them, they thought that it was not a good idea. I'll get some more data from them, and we'll talk about it in the future, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah, I think, however, I mean, I'm happy to take whatever recommendation the committee proposes in terms of how to best implement it in a way that is both achievable, but also will hold us, accountable to really make progress. And, I mean, the whole point of that, we're trying to not do, wishy-washy, feel-good sounding goals. Because it's very easy for us to say to the public, like, oh, we'll just make the school district better, and just throw out meaningless words. We're trying not to do that. We're trying to really establish goals that are going to result in progress in all these areas. But so whatever you think is best to implement.
Okay, I'll bring more information at the next meeting.
Okay. And is that something that you think we might need to discuss at a roundtable, or you'd like to have more board participation in?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So just let us know when, and then maybe we
will.
can schedule that for a future meeting. Okay. Thank you, Trustee Saunders. Trustee Williams?
Yeah, just a little following up from last board's meeting, talk about partnership with the NGA, Metropolitan Golf Association. Had a meeting with them today up in Elmsford, and just kind of moving closer to a pilot program that we'll be bringing to Mount Vernon starting next year. So hopefully we're getting closer to a date, so maybe mid-January through February will be a 6-week kind of training on site at one school, and then the following 6 weeks from April into early June, this company will be looking to partner with us and actually come in to give transportation and bring students over and get the actual hands-on experience. So we're getting closer to that, so we'll be hearing more golf talk in Mount Vernon.
Good to hear.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. Trustee McOwen.
I already gave half of my report just now, but I just wanted to, again, remind the Special Education Committee and Budget Committee, I think, was going to circle back on the budget goal. Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly?
Yes.
And the Education Committee was going to circle back on, once we get some data from you on that. So my plan between now and the next meeting, understanding the holidays and the break involved, is that we can, if these different groups could please just independently email me a proposal or some information so that I can consolidate it into a new draft of the goals.
Okay.
Whatever information, whatever progress we can make in the next 2 weeks before before we shut down during the break, so that we can have a working draft for the first meeting in January. I don't know if we'll be ready to adopt it at the first meeting, but it'd be good to have a working draft, even if there are still some blanks left to fill in. So let's make progress on that if we can.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Trustee McOwen. Trustee Mitchell, so I just wanted to give you an update. So because we're not having a meeting until the second week in January, I've asked trustees to give reports, either board member reports related to activities you participated in or something that you'd like to bring to our attention, or else your respective committee report. So
I can share the discussion. I had a very good discussion with Dr. Gayon and Rachel DePaul recently in the past weeks, just regarding the idea that we want more involvement regarding special education to parents and parents of students who have IEPs. It's been a struggle to have participation from the community, from the public, and especially parents of those students. So we did have a very healthy discussion regarding ways that we can bolster those amounts and have more involvement. Just to mention a couple of topics, ideas, award shows, presentations that are focused specifically on IEP students, and having them be able to, just like we have students from different schools perform here at our board meetings, and a lot of times we have very good turnouts in those situations. We're thinking about definitely exercising those same type of practices for our special education meetings. So it's very important, and there's a lot of information that is shared at these meetings, and it's information that's being missed. So, like I said, again, a very healthy conversation I had with Dr. Gayon and Rachel DePaul, and we're looking to definitely partner up and move forward with that agenda.
thank you, Trustee Mitchell. Trustee Miller?
I'll let Trustee Patterson talk about the event Saturday. But anyway, we're having a holiday event Saturday, and we seem to be oversubscribed, which is a good thing. And I would implore you to please offer your services to volunteer, because we're going to need a lot of help wrangling children, because there could be hundreds of children there Saturday from 3 to 7 p.m. at Rebecca Turner. So we've been working on that with Dr. BC and the parent liaisons and Rick McCormick. We think it's going to be a wonderful event. On December 19th at, I think, 3:30, we are having a family and communication meeting regarding mind, body, and soul, which is, I really want some people to volunteer to help on that, which is going to be held May 16th. And so we're going to be starting the planning early to raise funds for that and just plan all the activities. And we're fine. We've done the past couple of years. We'll be working closely with Mike Policio. Last Wednesday, Dr. Hamilton and I met with a group of people who now are, we've constituted a new board of directors for the Mount Vernon Educational Foundation, and we have 4 board members. We did an event a month ago at Montefiore, an information event. We actually ended up getting 3 resumes from people who attended that event who were really interested in joining the board as well. So we're going to be interviewing those candidates and anyone else who shows up, who presents themselves between now and then, I think on January 8th. And then hope to have a full board meeting the following week. We are starting to lay out our strategy and plans, and it's a very dynamic and exciting group of people who really care and are really going to work hard. So stay tuned on that. And then I'm meeting with someone on next Monday regarding doing the website for the foundation, because we think we need to have a professional firm do it, hopefully gratis. So that's my report.
Does that mean that the foundation is fully reestablished, the 501c3 status?
Oh, that's been reestablished for a while. Dr.
Right.
Hamilton and Rick got that done, and so yeah, we're really up and running, and we just want to have an odd number because I'm ex officio, I can't vote.
Right.
So we're hoping by January we'll have that, and then we think that by fall of 2020 we'll be able to have our first fundraiser. So
that's good to know the foundation is available if anyone is looking for a year-end tax deductible.
yeah, we're open for business.
You can make a tax deductible charitable contribution to the. You can't do it to the school district, but you can do it to the foundation.
That's right.
And get tax credit for it. I'm sure we can if your employer does matching.
Yeah, that's been,
Bring the donations in.
that is one of the things I think we're hoping to light up very quickly is the matching donation, because it helped with Star Scholars in an amazing way, tens of thousands of dollars. So anyway, yeah, well, stay tuned.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Miller. Trustee White?
I'm really just happy to be back.
Yeah, we're happy to have you back.
It's been a long time. I haven't made any school visits, but once the thing goes back on, I'll be back out there. Checking on everyone and looking into everything. But I'm just glad to be back today.
Thank you, Trustee White. We're glad to have you back. Trustee Ning?
Thank you, President Torres. We have not met, but on December 18, the Education Committee will meet, and we will have an update on region scores, exam performance on the regions from the high schools. Dr. Satish Jagnathan will do a presentation for us. We've invited Mr. Gonzalez, Principal Gonzalez, and Ms. Pauline Pierce to also come and do a presentation on the application, timeline, and process about the International Baccalaureate program, the one that Dr. Hamilton mentioned earlier. So we'll have those presentations. And then on January 29, Dr. Gorman has invited Dr. Lynn Holden, who is the Director of Mentoring in Medicine. So she has a program that she established since 2007, and that helps underserved population get careers in health. In health careers, like the medical field and so on. And she's been able to help more than 500 underserved, get those careers since then. She's very successful, and there is a video, I think Dr. Gorman is going to share it with, but we invited anyone who could come, especially from the board, because there are possibilities of connection here, especially with the STEAM Academy. We are looking to really make connections with, some of the colleges like CUNY's Medical School to see what the criteria of entrance are and prepare the kids. We've had discussion with the chair of biology, for instance, at Lehman, who's the director of the PCAP, in looking at these. And Dr. Holden is on the board of that CUNY school. So I met with her about a month and a half ago, and this was just as an overview of a program, and I was just very highly impressed on the possibilities of her working with Mount Vernon and putting these type of programs together. And she's a very well-known doctor, and she's on the board, in fact, on many other hospitals, and including, I believe, Albert Einstein, if I'm not mistaken, and Montefiore. we are very excited to have her come, and we invited, of course, the principal of the STEAM Academy and of the high school to see what type of connection that could be made there. So that would be on January 29. That would be like a month and a half, from now. And this would be very good for your program, for the mentoring. So
Thanks. That'll be in the morning, like a morning meeting? like
that will
usual?
be in the morning at 8 a.m.
Okay.
8 a.m.
Great.
Exactly.
Here in the district?
Here, yeah.
Okay.
It would be within the education committee.
Committee meeting,
Right.
okay, wonderful, okay. Thank you, Dr. Ning. Trustee Munoz Patterson.
Okay, so two things. One, for the audit committee, we're waiting for the final internal auditor's report. They were looking at updating the risk assessments for various departments, so we'll see what that, hopefully that'll be in next month? Next month? Okay. Second, and this is kind of the bat signal for anybody who is free on Saturday, the number we originally expected for the Christmas event has now tripled. So we're expecting 3 times the amount of students that we were originally expecting, which is slightly intimidating and a little scary, but Dr. BC and the parent liaisons have been fantastic, and they've really been doing amazing work. So if anyone is free on Saturday from 3 to 7, we'll be at Rebecca Turner, and everyone is welcome to come.
So what age group is this? Is it K to 8th, or is it the 3rd grade to 8th?
It's K to 8.
K to 8. So I had a food pantry on Saturday, and I was approached by someone in the PTA who was asking why the high school students weren't involved, or high school students weren't invited. So
I think,
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I said I'd ask, and I'm asking. And is there going to be a time that we'll have an event for high school students?
I think that would be up to the high school PTAs to make a decision. I mean, this,
No, well, I guess because we're having something, the board is having this.
so we'd have to do a different kind of event, I guess, right? Because I don't think high school kids are going to
Well,
want
the
to.
thing was, the parent said, well, I have a child in high school and I have a child in elementary, and if my child wants to bring my elementary student there, what are they going to do? There's nothing for them to do. Or can they come?
They can sing, they can eat popcorn.
Well, that's what I said too.
But
are they invited?
They could do
Can
crafts.
they come in?
Well, the students who are invited are at all the elementary schools. But I mean, anyone, they're obviously being brought by. And they certainly could volunteer. I mean, we've got, what, 30 high school students from the STEAM Academy volunteering? We've got a dozen NHS students from the high school volunteering. So they could be a part of it, and they get credit. They get credit for volunteer work, for community work, for doing that too.
Did you want to?
So Nicholas, that's
Yeah, Nick,
question for
maybe
you.
Nick has an idea.
I'm gonna be the Grinch, so
So question, if somebody wants to volunteer, what should they do? Should they just show up on the day? Should they call someone? Is there a phone number? Is there an email address? What do you do? And obviously you have expecting a large turnout, so who?
They can call Dr. BC's office.
Okay.
And I guess register.
Okay.
So if high school students want to come, they need to call and register?
That would, if they want to volunteer.
Okay, any more questions? All right, Trustee Justino, would you like to give your report?
real quick. So both Thorne and the High have been organizing more fundraising for the yearbook and senior trips, etc. And the high school has been going crazy, selling at basketball games at the school, and we're racking up a lot of money. And both high schools, Thorne and the High, had their first yearbook committees where we discussed how it's going to look like, the pricing, all that. And lastly, Thorne is holding a raffle where they'll give away a basket to a student in need. It's going to have blankets, fuzzy socks, treats, all that. And that's pretty much it.
That's nice.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Good news and very generous of you. Thank you, Trustee Justino. And I'm just going to briefly give my Budget Committee meeting report. The Budget Committee met on Friday, November 15th, and Thursday, December 5th. We discussed several topics that have been ongoing, including an analysis and review of in-district transportation. A comprehensive review of in-district transportation has been completed. We are waiting now to receive a recommendation with respect to how we can identify more efficiencies in our in-district transportation while we are maintaining the guidelines pertaining to students with disabilities as well. There should be more information coming on the proposed changes to our current district transportation practices at a future board meeting. The Budget Committee also asked for an update on the staffing plan for Mandela for its onboarding in the fall of 2020. We anticipate we'll be receiving that information and reporting on what the needs are, if there are any increases in staffing, or what the impact will be on the budget for next year. So we anticipate having more information to report on that at a future date. As well, the Budget Committee discussed the possibility of offering a retirement incentive at the conclusion of the current school year. The committee is in favor of doing this, and will further explore this, provided that funding for this incentive can be identified. Among the other items that we discussed was the community activation for, or incentivizing the community to participate in advocacy on behalf of the district with respect to foundation aid. As part of that, I mentioned at the last meeting that there was a program being offered by the Westchester Putnam School Board Association on advocacy. There were various school districts that participated there. The Lower Hudson Education Coalition was present as well. And there was lots of information that was given with respect to initiating and springboarding an advocacy effort within the community. So what does that mean? That means everyone here, parents, teachers, administrators, other stakeholders in the community. And that's something that we're going to continue talking about. There are 2 forums that will be held in January, and we as a board will be participating with other school districts so that we can begin this advocacy initiative within our community. So more to come on that, and if there are people who are interested and would like to participate in that, please speak to Rick, and we will give you more information. Okay. That concludes my Budget Committee report. Our next meeting will be held on Friday, December 20th, 2019 at 8 a.m. And I just want to make a note, because the calendar that's listed on the district website indicates that the next meeting will be held on January 3rd. But because of the holiday, we've decided to have a meeting on December 20th, not to have such a long period of time between meetings. So that concludes my report. Thank you. So the next item on our agenda, I think we are going to the consent agenda. Okay. Does anyone have any items that they would want to remove from any of the tabs, any of the resolutions?
Are we going to have the normal explanation of change orders?
Where is Mr. Palicio? Did you have questions? Did you prepare the summary for the change orders? Are they at the desk?
I attached it.
Oh, you attached it, that's right, okay. So there was an attachment, but do you have questions? I mean, we can just go through all the resolutions, go through all the different,
I'd like an explanation on at least one change order.
Okay, let me just pull up my agenda so I can see. Give me a second, I'm sorry. Okay. So can I have a motion to approve Resolution 6.1, the Human Resources Memorandum?
Motion.
Second? Second. Okay. Are there any questions, comments, any discussion on any of the items on the memorandum? Questions? Comments? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Do we have any new employees this evening to be
Not present.
introduced?
Not present this evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a business office memorandum. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second? Any comments, questions, discussion on any of these items?
Now, just when I reviewed the budget calendar, Mr. Silver, I was hoping that, I see we're getting separate presentations for each kind of component of the budget, starting in, I guess, February it was. And I didn't see the actual date when we were going to have it kind of all rolled up. The presentation for that, I didn't know, maybe that's not set yet, but I just wanted to make sure we're going to have that so that we can kind of tie all the pieces together.
Good evening. We have not, for the past number of years, done pieces. We've done the whole budget presentation.
Right.
So if we wanted to go back to pieces, we certainly could, but I did not.
Oh, I thought we had separate presentations for different elements of the budget.
We have not done that in several years.
Okay, so I must have misread it. Okay. Misread it.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda,
Everything was included.
okay, so the next item on the agenda is the school improvement resolution, item 8.1. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Trustee Ning abstains.
Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is student services. Can I have a motion to approve 9.1, approval of student services memorandum, number 5? Motion? Second?
Second.
Any comments, questions, or discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, buildings and grounds. Item number 10.1, approve buildings and grounds memorandum.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Questions? Mr. Palicia, will you please approach the podium?
Hi.
Hi.
So the first question I had was I know we had spoken last meeting about the one for the gable, the very, very large one we were anticipating. I'm assuming, or I'm hoping, that the GC 36 is the large one we were anticipating?
So as we discussed last time, the 82,000 is for the demolition and the repointing of the gable. This was on last month as well, but this is now an executed change order. There is still one more component to that, the rebuilding of the gable.
Okay, so the fact that it said 136 and then went to 82 is what confused me. So why were we originally, how do we get that price differentiation between 136 and then we negotiate to 82? Where does that money, where's that?
So the 136 is the original proposal from the contractor. We always assume that there's some wiggle room there. So after negotiation with the architects, the construction managers, they got it down to 82,000.
Yes, but my question, I guess, is $50,000 is a big change. That's a very large percentage. There's another one here too that went from almost 15 to 6,700. So my question, I guess, ultimately is, and I don't know if you would know the answer, is why are these so different? Like, my expectation would be that if you know that we're going to negotiate, so either this is like that type of thing where you know a bill's coming, so you're like, hey, I'm going to inflate my bill so that way when I get pushed down, I'm still at the right price to cover my bills or my, my cost.
So the way the change order process works is it's identified, there's a bulletin put out, and then we ask the contractor who owns the work to give us a proposal. He gives us a proposal, and then we begin the negotiation process by industry standards. It's all done through this construction manager and the architects. And I can't speak with any confidence on how the contractor comes up with the original proposal. They come up with a proposal, and then we go from there. So I guess there is no, it's like asking somebody how much, you have somebody come to your house and you say, how much do you want for this? They give you a number, and then you.
No, it's awesome. I think the question is, how can we get a 40% knockoff on every single change order going forward? I think that's
Exactly,
the
that
question.
would be the question.
It takes a significant amount of effort on the entire team's part.
So kudos.
It's not an enjoyable experience. I can
So
assure you.
some of us also negotiate for a living. I'm familiar.
That's right.
So kudos, and do more of that.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
thank
great.
you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, nice talk. That's it?
Any more questions? Any other change orders anybody would like explained or clarified or more information on? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Palicio and Mr. Babiello.
We're not trying to give you a hard time for this one.
This one.
So,
Just this
Actually
one.
trying to draw attention to the rest of them.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda, item number 11. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second? Questions, comments, discussion?
Dr. Hamilton, I'm just wondering what communications have been made with the school about this?
I
Parents?
meet with the staff on Thursday morning. I meet with the community Thursday evening.
Okay.
And who is this person?
Yeah, so you.
Who is this person?
What?
There's no person attached. Where's my mask?
No.
Oh, Alan
He's-
Johnson, he's a.
He's been in our district.
Put it down. I'll do it.
Thank you.
So let me just ask them.
Dan took a job closer to home, secondary.
Trustees, can you just remind me who made the motion and who seconded? Sorry, we didn't record it.
one?
For this one, just now.
I
Motion?
made the motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. So Williams.
Thank you,
Okay,
Anne.
thank you. All right, any more questions, comments, discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay. The next item on the agenda, we don't have minutes for today. So we will not be accepting the minutes. They'll be prepared and ready for the next meeting. So this just brings us right to our roundtable discussion. And as a introduction to our roundtable this evening, roundtable discussion this evening, I'd like to ask Dr. Hamilton to give us some background information on Mandela, the naming of Mandela, and then we'll commence our.
So as we anticipate the onboarding of the new elementary school, currently located at Columbus Circle on Gramerton Avenue, I'd like the board to begin to have conversations about the name of the school. The Mandela building has some historical significance in terms of the naming of the school. There is apparently a document that exists where Nelson Mandela commends the district for naming the school after him. Unfortunately, we have not been able to locate that document, but we've been having discussions about whether or not the district, the board, wants to maintain the name of that building or create a new name for the building. And the reason this is timely is because we have to submit the application to the state, and we are approaching a time where it is soon going to be crucial that we do so. We have a few more weeks, but we need to reach a decision on that. And the reason that I asked the board to have this conversation is so that we could get some direction. The Mandela building has a connotation associated with it being an alternative school, and that name, when the building was named after Nelson Mandela and former principal Hosea Zalakoffer, there was a lot of synergy around creating support to do so. And we've talked in cabinet about rebranding the building, creating new opportunities for students that will be coming there or not. There is some historical significance to the building's name, but at the same time, because of the program that was in that building, it sometimes has a negative connotation. So the point in having the conversation was to see if board trustees were interested in entertaining changing the name or keeping the name. So there's two parts to it. One is, if you want to keep the name, then the second part is moot. If you want to change the name, then we should begin to talk about what that might be.
Can you just remind us what is the current official name of the building before it was shut down for renovations?
Before it was shut down, it was the Nelson, where's Marcy Tiggs? Hosea Zalakoffer, Nelson Mandela, Hosea Zalakoffer High School. Alternative high school.
One more time with no interruptions. What was it?
Okay. Nelson Mandela, Hosea Zalakoffer Alternative High School.
Okay.
That's a lot for a third grader to say.
Right. Also, it's not a high school anymore. So I'll just say that we've been asking for some kind of evidence. I know that I have personally, and other people have heard different people in the community talk about the history of the naming. If anybody actually has documentation of when this building was named and evidence of a letter from Mr. Mandela, which I've heard about, I've never seen, that would be awesome to have. It is true that very few buildings are named after Mr. Mandela at the wishes of his family, and it is not true that this is the only school. There are a few. There's one in California, I think, and one in someplace else. Sure. But it's very limited. There are very, very few educational buildings named after Mr.
I believe
Mandela.
this was the first one.
I've heard that too.
And I understand there was some documentation, some previous board members tell me that there was
Yeah.
some documentation of that. So I may reach out to them and see if they know.
That would be
what it is.
great, yeah, because I've heard that too. But if that actually is true and that did happen, then it is a relatively rare thing to have the official blessing of the Mandela family.
I also think the name is, the naming of the building, the naming of the program, how it was originated, and what it stood for then, and what it actually stands for now is pretty significant going into, 2020. That the program, the name itself has done a lot for individuals, a lot for families to actually get on track in certain things. So it's kind of mixing apples and oranges a little bit, but it is nice to say that you've taken a name or a school of a building that didn't necessarily have the identity attached that you kind of would like, and here it is now. Some odd years later, we can actually brand it. So we looked at as a district that's looking to take the lemons that you have and make lemonade. So I think it'll be a good sign for the community as to looking at our obstacles and putting our minds collectively together and saying, listen, the standards are here. If like I said, I'm kind of going, a little left, a little right, but I think it's a perfect name for what it represented and what it represents now, as a district, as a city as a whole. That's my opinion.
Since I'm a relatively new resident, it'd be good to have more background on Mr. Zolokoffer. He was a high school principal specifically, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
He was heavy into sports. He was heavy into sports. He was at every basketball game.
Right.
He was just a staple in the community.
So I'm just throwing this out there, but could it make sense to use the name Zolokoffer in a different way somehow that's more closely related to what he actually did, right? To the in the district.
Library or the gym after him in the school.
Right.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
something academic.
I think
Some academic or something sports,
else,
maybe the
because
gym.
he was well known.
He was well
Yeah, sure.
There's an article, I'm sorry, trustee, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were speaking, that appears in the Mount Vernon Daily Voice. Mr. Calicio just shared it with me, where it is recognized as the only school bearing its name in 2013. And this is actually, how apropos, December 6, 2013. It is recognized as the lone school named after Nelson Mandela.
I saw that article. I'm not sure if that's completely factually true, but regardless, it's a really cool thing and a really rare thing and something that's an honor to the district. I have no problems with it. Yeah.
We have the
That's great.
records, board records for 2013.
It was named before then, right?
Should be a resolution, right?
Yeah, it was a resolution that named it, and I recall being part of it, if my recollection is correct. So,
I'm sorry.
Trustee Munoz Patterson.
Thank you. The only thing I would say is I think people here have very long memories. Like I keep hearing Pennington being referred to as Pennington Grimes because that's what it was many, 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 many years ago. And I would just say that I think that there's we're going to have to, I think what Trustee Williams was saying with the rebranding, we're going to have a bit of a rebranding issue on our hands because I think anytime you hear Mandela, you think of the alternative high school. So I think that we're going to run into a bit of, not to say that we shouldn't do it, I'm just saying that something else to keep, in our minds is how are we going to effectively rebrand it so that way it's not the alternative high school, it's the elementary school that now we're, opening next year.
And are there other options as well, so that as we consider the rebranding for this new school, right? Are there other possibilities, just like we talked about, possibly mentioning, naming the library or the media center or some other area after Hosea Salakafer and perhaps maybe another part of the school to Mandela. So I think that we can consider other options, and I don't think it's one to the exclusion of the other. So
I think the other thing that we should also keep in the back of our mind is that there was a conversation when I first joined the board about renaming or the name of another school that we have that it's a particularly negative storyline with that particular person. And we discussed at the time maybe looking at, renaming our schools public school, elementary school 1 or 2, 3, 4 or something to that effect. So maybe this would be the opportunity to look at that and say, hey, not to say that we necessarily I don't know if that's what we want to do, but I know that there was conversation to that effect 2 years ago.
but I think if we go back to just to the Mandela issues, there is more positive things about Nelson Mandela that just some negative connotation that's based on that alternative high school. And in that alternative high school, we meant well. In fact,
absolutely.
And it did well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there were of course issues. So, and I think for who Nelson Mandela was and who he represented and what he represented in terms of social justice, in terms of people coming together. The idea of forgiveness, the idea of redemption. I think, Mandela, keeping that name, all we need to change is remove the Zolokov. It's not with, by disrespect to him, again, we have to choose something else, but it's because it's going to be an elementary school and call it Nelson Mandela Elementary School or something like that.
Yeah. I totally agree.
I think that would be, quite, and again, it's an honor, really, to have chosen that name for who he represented.
I'd like to add also that coming up at a time when alternative school was not just looked at as negative. Yeah, there was negative that went on in all kinds of schools, many different schools in our district. What you had to remember was that the alternative school offered just that, an alternative. It was not just for children who had behavior issues. It was about children who maybe they were teen parents and they had to go to night school, or they just needed a separate set of capabilities to continue their high school education. And it shouldn't remain synonymous. We're rebranding the district. That means we rebrand every school in our district. And we should be focusing on the positive over the negative. And in this day and time, we can outshine, anything negative seems to be able to be outshined by the positive. There's plenty that we can look back on. I have godchildren that went to Mandela when it was at Franco, when Franco used to be Nichols, okay, and they did fine. They had to go there, they went there, they were able to get their education. The administration was very serious when I saw it, and those kids, some of those kids really did come out in a good place. So we should always reflect on that, and I think that the name should not be synonymous with negativity. I think that if we were to go to the public, and we've had the public come to our meetings and state clearly what the name stands for, but that it should be focused on what the positivity of what Mandela stood for, what the school stands for, what it did. So I think that should be what we use as our cornerstone for building.
Oh, I was just going to say, if we're going to take Zollicoffer off, I think due respect is to the family.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah,
maybe
for
a
sure.
member of the family should be contacted and at least spoken to about what we are planning to do, and not just snatch his name off and
have a replacement for it immediately. Maybe you
Right.
have to
As
have
part of the plan.
something,
as
you
part
know.
of the plan. I think we owe respect to the
Yeah.
family.
And also to respect Trustee Patterson's point, there are connotation, negative connotation because of that word alternative, and whatever it meant and all the issues. So we have to have some branding, about the name, about the elementary school, and maybe some theme-based type of, project or activities around the school, something like that, just to make sure to again remind the students, because these are young people who Nelson Mandela was, and so on. So
Those kids don't know anything about. I'm sorry. Those kids don't. Those kids in that age group that are coming into that school, in elementary school, they have no clue about the negative connotations from the past, except what they hear from others. And
That's the
that shouldn't
thing.
be
That's the
case.
thing. Our audience, our audience is not the people who went to the school 15 years ago.
Right.
That
That's
is
right.
not our audience. Our audience is who's going to come there in the future years. And if we can't, I'm sorry, if we can't positively spend the name Nelson Mandela, then we got bigger issues.
Absolutely.
I mean, seriously, come on. But yeah, I think that I agree with what everyone's saying, and since we're radically changing the school, it's not even that it's a different program. It's not even the same age kids. It's a completely gut renovation. This is a completely new, different school. And to call it the Nelson Mandela Hosea Zollicoffer Alternative Elementary School is not the right move. I think it should be something different. Again, as everyone's saying, with all respect to Mr. Zollicoffer, no, I agree with all this, and I think we have named schools, and everybody's attached to the names of the schools, and you can talk to anybody. I mean, I literally talked to 2 different parents on the same day, literally, and one of them was saying about all the negative connotations they have with the Pennington School, and they wanted their kids to go to Traphagen, and the other one had negative connotations with the history of Traphagen and wanted to go to Pennington on the same day. Like, you will find people who have negative histories with every school in this district, and you will find kids who emerge with excellence and have amazing futures at every single school. And that's always been true. So I think that's all I have to say.
For the record, I was not saying, let's just be clear, because the
Yeah.
tone that came out after my comment, I was not saying let's not keep the name. What I'm saying is that, and again, I think that what we have to do here and what the roundtables are meant for is to kind of flesh out all aspects of whatever we're doing going forward. And my only, like I said, I still have people calling Pennington Grimes, even though there's another building named Grimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, just for the expectation of whatever we hear going forward, that's something to keep in the, back of your mind.
So while we're talking about the name of the new elementary school, are there proposals for the name? Will it be the Nelson Mandela Elementary School? I mean, do trustees have any thoughts about that, or the Nelson Mandela Elementary School?
I wouldn't
it's-
want
but
to
it's-
say what it's going to be until we talk to the Zollicoffer family.
But it's not an elementary school, it's up to 8th grade.
There are no elementary schools except for Rebecca Turner.
So
They're
the
all
Nelson
pre-K
Mandela
through 8
School,
schools.
what would be, or what, so I ask you to give consideration to what that name would be, incorporating Nelson Mandela's name within the title of the school.
If we go by the board policy,
Yeah.
style guide, the convention would be the Mandela School, in keeping with how we've named all the other schools. That's what it would be. But I would love to see if anybody actually has the letter officially naming it, from the Mandela family or whatever. That would be great information to have, because maybe they had a specific name they wanted it to be. I don't even know, Because I want to give respect to that too, if that happened.
I don't think Rick was on, were you on the board?
No.
So that goes.
Okay. So following up on what you just said, I thought that maybe one of the things we can do to try to gather this information, if it exists out there somewhere, is just to make a public appeal. If anybody has any information, there might be some historian in the city who conceivably may have a record or some other documentation memorializing this naming.
Or can someone in administration just reach out to the Mandela Foundation?
So I did.
Okay.
I didn't reach out, but they have a directory on Nelson Mandela's Foundation's website, where they list all the public buildings and entities that bear his name. And Mandela is one of those schools, but there was no specific special reference to our building on the website. It was categorized and with the rest of the buildings, just as the other hundreds were.
I mean, it's worth a phone call. They might know. And further, they might be thrilled and they might be willing to donate to our foundation. It's worth a call. Worth a call.
Yeah, it won't hurt.
Thank you, trustees. Does anyone have any other comments related to this topic? Okay. So the other item that we had on our roundtable was basically the goals, but we've already discussed that, so I don't know that we need to continue that discussion unless there's something that anybody here wants to add or has questions about related to that. And if not, then are there any questions or is there anything else that anyone would like to raise at this time? Okay. Then this will conclude our roundtable discussion for this evening. Thank you, trustees, for your active engagement and participation. Okay. Next item on the agenda, we're going to be going into executive session. Or are there any reasons for going into executive session?
We need a motion to enter an executive session this evening for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular person or persons, to review pending litigation, and to receive legal advice from counsel.
Motion.
Second?
No.
No, that's no.
No.
How long?
How long will we need?
Long time.
You didn't bring your pajamas?
That's easy.
Your toothbrush?
No more than an hour, right? About an hour approximately. So,
There's no action.
But we're not be
No.
coming back out.
well, yeah, there will be no action, so we won't be returning. So is there a motion to move into executive session? Motion?
We had a motion.
We had a motion.
We have
Second?
Trustee Miller and Trustee Saunders.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, motion carries. Okay, so we will.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes.
Great holiday.
Holiday.